This is a Restless reaction.
I am your host, Matt, and I am joined on a special occasion with Pastor Michael. Michael, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Life is good. I could really use some Driscoll reaction video right now.
Well, Pastor Michael, I have some good news. Driscoll video reaction you will be getting, you and all of our faithful listeners, because we, in our episode called Reformed, promised the first person to rate, review us, and email us would be receiving a gift from Michael and I. And we had someone take us up on it. I don't know if you noticed, but I had to drop a reminder to our subscribers and followers on Saturday.
I did see it. That was the recording I didn't know about. Is that?
Yep.
Oh, yes.
But once I did that, and I appreciate our listeners. You know, they assumed the moment that podcast was released, it would be claimed.
That is definitely what they assumed.
But after I gave them a reminder, we were inundated with emails. And by that, I mean like 5.
That's pretty good.
That is pretty good.
That is pretty good.
And I will have you know that there was some controversy over who was actually first, the first one to claim. And so, I had to take it up with the board of directors here at Restless. We had to do a recount.
Did you check what kind of voting machines were we using?
Were
you using Dominion software?
There's a lot of questions in the Google system. I mean, we had 2 emails come in within 1 minute of each other.
Wow.
And
is that real?
It is real.
Wow.
The first email, oh, I'm sorry, friend, did not win because he did not write a review. He did not write words in his review. He just left the stars and emailed us, which meant the second person, a friend of the show from Australia, is our winner, which means we will be giving a pocket Westminster Shorter Catechism to this friend. Fortunately, I have a way to get one of these to him very easily. But we want to thank everyone who did that, who participated with us that way. We'll be doing more things like this in the future. And you guys, because you were the first, you were jumped on so quick, we will legacy you into our next drawing. But as our thank you to everyone, today we are watching some Mark Driscoll, some classic Mark Driscoll. We are going to watch the Mark Driscoll clip that brought Pastor Michael on the new Calvinist bandwagon.
This is it. I'm so glad that this is still out there. I don't know who did this for us, but I'm so thankful that they preserved it.
I'd like to thank Be Ready 7 on YouTube for with their 60 subscribers, which is more than we have. So no worries, man. You're doing great. Keeping the tolerance rant in a place where we could access it. Here's why I'm excited to do this. I think, Michael, something we've mentioned that we have not done since we've kind of not been as involved in these kinds of movements is I have not gone back and revisited any of this content, books, sermons.
None of it.
And so I think it's time to start finding out what was it like? What was I so impressed with at the time? Here's how we'll do it. We're going to watch the clip. We'll see if we get through all 8 minutes of it. And Michael, you just tell me when to stop when you want to comment on Pastor Driscoll's sermon from Nehemiah.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so this is a sermon by Mark Driscoll from Nehemiah. As always, Pastor Mark, we'd love to have you on the show. And let's get going. The tolerance rant.
And what happens here is Elias, he's a really sweet guy. I mean, I see him in a lemon yellow sweater vest, drinking decaf, driving a cabriolet, just like, he's just a really sweet guy. But his mercy's too much. His mercy is at the point where he just totally gives up the truth, which leads to the second point. Then the feelings of people overtake the feelings of God. When you lose sight of the truth and you lose sight of God, you will allow error, sin, falsity, and heresy in the name of being nice, which is not nice to God. And ultimately, it's not nice to people because you're lying.
That's great.
I mean, that's basically right?
I like it. I'm on board.
Let me just ask this question. How much, Michael, is your preaching style reflective of what we are watching here today?
It's so not. Sometimes I almost wish, and I don't know if this is sinful of me, but I almost wish that I did more of this kind of stuff and I could pull it off. My preaching style includes basically zero humor, and it is just straight up. Here's what this teaches. Here's what it's all about. Here's what you should do with that knowledge. The end. Let's pray. So it is not near as flashy and fun.
And we're going to get the jokes. I have a feeling those are coming.
Oh, they're coming. All right. I almost remember all of this verbatim just because I'm sure I watched it so many times.
Oh man. But yeah, this is a nice kind of thing to, after a long day, pour a stiff drink and enjoy some of this tolerance rant. Let's keep it going.
And that's what happens here. How in the world did Tobiah marry into a Christian family? If you're here and you're a daddy and God gives you a girl, and maybe some of you aren't married yet and you're going to be a daddy. I got 2 girls. Man, I love them. We have this talk every 15 minutes. Jesus loves you. I love you. No one marries you, touches you, speaks to you, looks at you, text messages you, emails you, or gets to be in the same zip code as you unless they love Jesus and I love them too. That's it. Otherwise, my daughter's going to get hooked up with some wingnut whack job, and then he's going to be at my house for Thanksgiving, and I'm going to have a fork in one hand and a knife in the other, and something really bad's going to happen.
I mean, they're clapping along. I mean, is it useful for me to try and make substantive critique, or is that just...
I don't think so. I think just sit back and enjoy the ride.
Okay, because right, I think we're far afield from whatever this original Nehemiah text was, but let's keep going.
And he's going to be raising my grandkids not to like Jesus. So, it can't happen. Somehow this nice, sweet Elisha, this guy did not hold the line. And Tobiah marries in. And tolerance overtakes truth, and people overtake God, which the end result of this, I'll give you another example since we're here. I was going to move on. I'll give you an example. How this still happens. It's happening now. I can't believe.
I just want to say right now you are missing him jumping around, just apparently just broiled over with whatever kind of passion that looks like he's trying to choke something or whatever. So, all right.
Believe this. I'm driving along in my Jeep, minding my own business, and I turned to Christian radio for the first time in a long time, last time for a long time. And there's an ad by churches in our area, least church area in the country, more dogs than Christians, saying that we're having a conference, a series of conferences on the Old Testament, and you all Christians, you could come and learn the Bible that Jesus read. You could learn the Old Testament. I thought, good. I vote yes. And our teacher will be Rabbi so-and-so. And I start having my own personal earthquake in my Jeep. I mean, I'm squeezing so hard on the steering wheel, I'm waiting for the airbag to deploy. This isn't a messianic Jewish rabbi who digs Jesus. This is just a rabbi who thinks Jesus is not God and is still dead in a hole somewhere in the Middle East. Going to teach God's people the secret of the Bible. The secret of the Bible is Jesus. You know.
He's right. Michael, is that story true? Did that happen? in his
I
car.
bet it happened. I bet it really happened. I bet there's some embellishment, but it doesn't strike me as something that would not happen. I mean, it strikes me as something that happens daily.
Was this? I think this might be one of the first times I've seen this clip. Was this controversial? Was this like bad guy is anti-Semitic? Is that the read this one we got here?
I don't remember any of that coming out from this. Like, this was around the time that Driscoll started to, be on some of the, like, he's interviewed on Nightline on ABC, and like he's starting to get some press as the kind of controversial, but also kind of old school in some of what he believes, because he still believes that there's objective truth. Like, he was starting to get a lot of flack for being that guy. And so I don't know exactly where in the timeline that would put this, but he definitely was getting some of that. I don't know if this is just like the first thing that I ever saw from Driscoll, right? Yeah. So I don't know if it was, if it was pretty old when I saw it, if it had been a couple of years, or if it was like, wow, this just happened and I'm just seeing it now and jumping on the bandwagon. I'm not sure.
All right, let me put Driscoll back on. I'll look up the date of this sermon series.
And that's what freaks me out. It's so here's what happens. Jesus comes. He fights with the religious types in John 5. And he says, you guys study the Bible all day, and you have no idea what it means because you don't love me. I don't care if you know what the shewbread is and the temple is and what the lampstand is. If you don't know Jesus, you don't know jack about the Bible. That's what I'm telling you. And it might be really cute to bring in a rabbi, and he's like, here in the Hebrew, ark means, who's your Messiah? Well, it's not Jesus. He's still dead. Then you're on the other team. And we love you, and God bless you, and you could come, but you can't teach. You can't teach God's people that the secret of the Bible is not Jesus. End of Luke's gospel. Jesus rises from death. Takes him through the whole Old Testament saying, this is all about me. Guy gets up. Here, let me tell you about the Old Testament. What do you think about Jesus? I don't think about Jesus. Teaching the Christians. Then it gets worse. This month, Christianity Today did a feature on me. Wasn't too bad. I've seen far worse. And I was wondering if it was online so I could send it to my mom. I always read.
Nehemiah. He preached through Nehemiah through 2007.
Okay. Yeah, so that was that. I probably saw it right about when it came out, or shortly after. Somebody must have clipped this and put it out. They probably clipped it, actually. They've got that little graphic at the beginning, so I'm sure the church clipped it and put that out for everybody to see.
Yeah. Oh man. I mean, he's pretty likable. We were just talking to a friend in the OPC who I just feel is going to be disappointed with our lack of fury at this. I don't know, man. All right, well let's. I'll work something up. I'll work myself up like he.
I'm taking some notes. There's some
good.
things I'm thinking, but I want to watch the whole thing before I make my proclamations about it.
Pastor Michael, you faithful and measured guy.
Stuff before I send it to my mom because she gets depressed. And I click on to ChristianityToday.com. Now, I'm thinking we're clicking on to ChristianityToday.com. And at the top, the banner ad, the top of ChristianityToday.com. The marketing for my new books just went out the window. But at the top of ChristianityToday.com, there was an ad for the rabbi, not a Christian, sitting there, rabbi-esque, saying, if you Christians would like to know the Old Testament, buy all my products because I'll tell you what the Bible's all about. If I might state the obvious, Christianity is about Christ. I don't mean to stretch it.
His face, he knows he's
Oh yeah,
he's got
he knows
him.
he's
You
funny.
know what I'm saying? And here's what the ad said. Everyone needs a rabbi. I'm in my living room. Here's what I do. Ah! I flip. My kids run in. Dad, what's happening? There's a rabbi on Christianity.com. My son was 7 at the time, just turned 8. Well, he doesn't believe in Jesus, does he? No, you're 7. You should run the website. If you have the, and I know some of you are geeks, I know. If you can take it down, do.
Wow, bold move. Oh man,
Right?
unbelievable.
And if it goes down, I'll go on CNN and say, we did it for Jesus, you know? And the whole thing, everybody needs a rabbi. I'm like, we have one. His name is Jesus. I don't need this guy. Just freaks me out. Yeah, are you with me here? The result then, when tolerance overtakes truthfulness and the feelings of people overtake the feelings of God, passion diminishes into passivity and people just don't care. Oh, there's no hell. Every religion's right. Nobody's a bad person. Well, I'll be at the strip club. It changes how you live. It just does. It just does. If you believe that the Bible is true and that Jesus is God and that hell is real, you live differently. And if all of it's just opinion, perspective, ideology, and marketing, why be passionate about anything?
Well, we're having a good time. That's for sure.
That was so fun. Just a walk down memory lane.
I raise a glass to this reaction. Here you've got notes. I don't. As our listener probably heard me just dying laughing. It was not to something unrelated. It was definitely to that clip. But here's my initial thought. Oh wow, that is what I thought preaching was. Wow.
Right.
Wow. All right.
That is what I thought preaching should be.
Oh, even better.
It's not what it was, right? That's not what's happening.
Yeah, I wasn't a lost
church.
person wandering into Driscoll's church to hear it being all about Jesus. I was like, well, my pastor, what's he doing?
He's not making all those good jokes. He's not funny enough.
Sorry, you're not funny enough to be a pastor. So for 8 minutes, right, the content of that was, right, here's the true statement, right? The content of that was, what? Feelings over truth. When feelings overtake truth, it's bad, basically. He's not wrong. That is a common problem.
Absolutely. And this is what I want to give some praise. I do have the tendency, I think, to be very critical at times, but I also really like trying to find the good in things like this. And I like a lot of it. I really do. And this idea, right, that he is drawing firm and hard lines in a time, in a culture, and a church culture even. You know what it was like growing up in evangelicalism.
It was Christianity Today. It's what he was.
That's right. It was Christianity Today. It was we're not going to draw hard lines anywhere because then people couldn't fit in. We want to make sure everybody can squeeze through. So we need to make everything as soft as possible. This is one of the things that made me like Driscoll so much, is because I read the Bible. I knew that there was some kind of objective truth. Also, on a personality level, I wanted there to be firm, clear lines. And then someone came along and was doing that. But it was also, appealing to the side of me that wanted to hear the jokes and
Yeah.
and laugh a little bit. But he was drawing firm, hard lines. And also, I think you see in that the reason that Driscoll was so appealing to young men like us is because he did not leave masculinity out of the pulpit. He had a strong, sure, it breaks into like a false bravado and like a phony kind of thing. The whole, a man can't even look at my daughter kind of stuff.
Right.
Like that is the kind of machismo, not necessarily like solid biblical masculinity, but there also was a strong masculine side to it of here's the truth, deal with it. And that was something that was anathema and still is in much of evangelicalism, especially the evangelicalism that we grew up in, that was heavily feminized.
Yeah.
And so to see that was like, wow, this is amazing.
You're so right. And it's almost like that's what a lot of people think went wrong with the Driscoll story.
Right.
Like
they think that was the problem.
Right. And see, I just want to say before we go on and before we maybe disprove it, see, Pastor Mark, this is the show you should be on. Look at this, the PCA confessional pastor just singing your praise. But what is, man, because I totally agree, right? What made Driscoll interesting for me and my roommates to watch like at night, right? Were the jokes, right? Were the 8 minutes of fluff and trash. But let's give him a little credit. How different is that than what most evangelical pastors were doing?
No, the difference between what Mark Driscoll is doing there and what most evangelicals, and not even just most evangelicals, most of the sermons I hear from guys in the PCA who are supposedly confessionally reformed, right? The difference is that he's really good at it.
Boom.
Like he's telling stories well. He has impeccable timing. Like he is passionate about it. It's not just, well, I'm going to tell you this story about my life to apply this Bible lesson, but I'm going to do it. It's kind of cheesy. It's kind of lame. It's actually pretty funny. It's well done. Like that was a solid comedy routine.
Oh, no doubt. When Driscoll says one of his major influences on his preaching was Chris Rock, you go, I can tell.
Yeah, you see it. Now should comedy routines be a part of a sermon? I don't think so. I've come to the conviction that I try not to use jokes in my sermons, not because I don't think I could. I think like there are a lot of times I really want to. This is the kind of guy that I used to emulate, right? Mm-hmm. In what preaching should be like. So it's not that I think I would never want to do that, but I have come to the point where I think, no, the need in our day is not actually more comedy, more entertainment. That's not actually what we need. We need John the Baptist saying it like it is. Here's the truth. We're not going to water it down. We're not going to make it light. This is what the scripture says, and we should take it seriously and with some weight to it. And you see, even in this clip, he tries to do that, right? So he tries to do that and the comedy routine. When I see that kind of thing, though, is I'm going to walk away and I remember the comedy part, right? I remember the part that was getting me to laugh. I'm not necessarily remembering the other parts quite as well.
Yeah, I think that, and I don't know how true it is. At some point we have to, because right, you and I, the point he's making, and even the failures of Christians, like when we're going to a rabbi, right? All of these kinds of things. I think you and I would pretty much agree with all of that.
Right.
The question becomes, and this is where I think part of what you and I in challenging New Calvinism is, the packaging isn't neutral. If that's, is that worldly packaging, right? This isn't neutral. Like, and I think Driscoll would say it's neutral. Men are listening. You were listening, right? He could easily say both of you were listening. And so, and that in the end becomes what you say about that. I think decides how you feel about what we just watched long term.
Yeah, what you win them with is what you win them to. That is a great picture of what the young Restless and Reformed movement was. There was tons of truth. There was tons of good. It's all about Jesus. Amen. Awesome. Like, I'm in. That sounds great. What was it that led to more of the downfall? It was the rest of it.
Right. So what is, other than the truth statements, which again, he's a persuasive speaker, what is he winning you to? What do you think?
There's definitely a side of being driven, although the main thing spoken is truth. The main thing presented was passion. And so really what you're doing is you are winning people to passion. And the thing about passions and our passions is they're good, they're from God, they're also fickle, and they are a part of our sinful nature, or our sin. I should say our sin nature affects them. Not that passions in themselves, emotions in themselves are bad or evil or anything like that, but they are affected by the fall. They're affected by our sin. And so even though in the words that were being used, the focus was on the truth, what was being presented was that what matters most is the passion.
Yeah. Well, let me unload a little more of my own baggage, because we're doing a reaction. Let's get I can get as personal as Driscoll in a podcast. That's right. It's a frequent topic of conversation here on the show. I'm a seminary student, so I've done preaching labs. Did you do such wonderful activities at Trinity?
We did a couple. Yeah, I did a few of those. I know I had at least one preaching class that I can remember.
So obviously I did it at RTS. I told a professor, based on what the kind of thing I was coming out of, which was this: I would not use illustrations in a sermon. I would just not do illustrations. And obviously I was being asked to do illustrations, right? And I was being asked by a faithful professor and a faithful pastor, overseeing my sermon writing, to use illustrations. And do you want to know who kind of changed my mind on illustrations? This is fun. In a few weeks, we're going to have a OPC elder on named Rob. It was a really great time interviewing him, and he is the one who really pushed on me the need for illustration in sermon. And I do think it becomes right how you do it, right? The packaging does matter. But as I've thought about this more, when I'm doing family worship with my kids, right? With my daughter, we're reading through the Gospel of Mark. I do whatever it takes. I will say whatever it takes to help her understand the scriptural point. Yeah. And I don't want to tell her a story about my childhood, because what you said, all she's going to remember is the time Daddy telling me about her childhood. But if there's a story about a person who can't walk, right, I will do whatever it takes to help her understand how cataclysmic it was that this person couldn't move their legs. They couldn't run around like you. Yeah. And then after Jesus touched them, they could, right? That at some level, right, illustration is it's inevitable, it's natural. But it's in service to a text. It's in service to a word. It's not a function of entertainment.
Yeah.
Which this was entertainment.
I'm going to jump in and just defend Driscoll potentially.
Please do.
Just say he did preach for like an hour and a half usually. I mean, it just a huge amount. So to pull out an 8-minute clip like we just listened to,
4 times
it's possible
a Sunday.
The rest of that sermon was straight out of the text.
But we've heard
I don't remember that, but
I've heard a number of sermons.
But I do think, this is, there was obviously some self-promotion in there and some things like that. You hear some of that stuff. And the thing is, ultimately, the fact that it was so focused, it was focused on Christ, right? So like it was trying to get across this idea. It's Jesus or nothing. It's all about him. It's his truth, not these kind of, flimsy feelings of people. Like that is a good thing. And we've mentioned before how the Apostle Paul does speak of, those who are preaching Christ out of selfish ambition. But he says, as long as they're preaching Christ, like that's what I want. I want Christ preached. And so, we are only here because of that sermon. Think about that. Like we're only here because of that. And could God have used other things and done other things? Sure. But that is the clip that I saw that got me more serious into thinking about the scripture in a lot of ways. And so, sure, I have so many things that I could say about how I don't think this is the best way to preach. But man, God did choose to use it.
I hope you enjoyed our reaction with watching Driscoll rant about tolerance. As we close here, we'll just let you know if there are clips of Driscoll or other things that will be as enjoyable for me to watch at the end of a long day, please send them. We'll do reactions to them. We are going to covenant with you right now, listener. Driscoll just appeared on Steven Crowder last week. It was fascinating. And there are a couple clips I'd love to have us do a reaction to. Once we hit 25 reviews, we're going to do it.